Gotta give it one more go. Doubt creeped in there. I know I can lift it 50 kilos, I know I can lift it on my head. I did it last week, but I'm looking for the excuse. It's late, it's midnight. And giving it an excuse, oh, it's late, I'm tired. I'm not tired, just lift the fucking thing. So I'm gonna lift it. Is this thing on? Alright. I'm on the Sagres tonight. Shooting with a different camera tonight. The GH5 with a Voigtlander lens. So I've had to just drag that out of the box. Something arose this week that I'd like to talk about, give my views on. Now, these little bits of the camera, they're not a given, it's just my interpretation of my experience, my thoughts, and they're subject to change, like opinions, like meeting somebody else that tells you something else, and then you think, yeah, actually I was wrong. So this is my opinion. What I wanted to talk tonight about was fear. Because I met a couple of people this week that had the fear. And fear is a tricky one. But you also got to understand what it is. And there's a saying, fear knocked on the door, and it was fate who answered, and nobody was there. And I didn't understand that when I heard it first. There's always something that trumps something else. Oh, I'll get back to that in a minute. But people will present with, I'm afraid of this, I'm afraid of that, I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of flying, I'm afraid of heights, I'm afraid of cockroaches. Afraid of flying and afraid of heights isn't fear. It's a phobia. It's a lack of willing to let go. You're afraid of, how should I put it, losing control. But the reality of life is you have no control over anything, really. You can make an effort and try and work on yourself, but to control what's going to happen today or tomorrow, you just don't have that control. So when you get on a flight or a plane or an elevator, you're not afraid of flying. You don't want to let go. You're hanging on to some sort of control that you have in your normal life. I usually drive my car, I'm in control of everything. You're not. That's all that is. There's other ones, I'm afraid of what people might think. That's not fear either. That's pride. That's pride fucking with you. Pride is a different thing altogether. Pride needs validation. Proud of how I dress, how I act, how I am. That's just the persona. That's just the act of me. It's not really you. So pride is a lower frequency emotion. It's defensive. It's defensive. And defensive invites attack, like self-defense. Who are you defending yourself against? The three guys with the Kalashnikov that you train for 20 years. When you kneel down, a guy puts a Kalashnikov to your head, here's how you do it. When you've never seen a Kalashnikov in your entire life. That's pride. But it's not the fear. Pride, and we'll talk about pride another time, it's just thin ice. It's kind of like, it's a substitute for courage. But fear is something else on itself. Fear is something, it's like weather. It's like when it's a cold, wet, grey January morning in Ireland, it's hard to remember what it's like to have sunshine on your back and be sitting on a beach. And likewise, when you're on the beach, it's hard to imagine what it's like to be back in January, or what it's like to be pissing rain when you put the barbecue on. Back to fear. And it can be overpowering fear. Fear can take control of somebody's life and they're afraid just to live. They can't get out of bed. People label it with certain labels, anxiety, depression, things like that. But to understand what the fear is, I've nothing to fear but fear itself. It's its own little entity, it's its own little being, it's its own little thing, like you are. And I learned the thing in Chinese medicine, which was the pathology feeds itself. And if you're at that stage where you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, where you're embedded in it, you don't want to get out of bed, you don't want to leave the house, you don't want to get out of your comfort zone. Sometimes it's alright just to stay there, you know. You're safe enough, stay there. But at some stage you got to make a move. And at some stage you got to find something that's stronger than fear in order to trump the fear. And what you're looking for is courage. Easier said than done. But it goes back to the first thing, which is faith answering the door, and there was nobody there. Faith trumped fear, belief. Little tip I got one day off Carl Townswell: pen and a paper. And this is a pen with like the 4 different colours on it. So the importance of the red, the blue, and the whatever, which one you want. If you want to address a few things or figure out what the fear is, first of all address what it is. Is it pride? Is it a phobia? Or is it the fear? And once you know what you're dealing with, then you can address it. Then you can look for something to trump it. So what I suggest is pen and paper. And make a list. Make a list of things that you're afraid of. Start at the top and work down to the bottom. Biggest fear most people have is death. In a situation of life or death, always choose death. That's the code of the samurai. Always choose death, never choose life. Because if you choose death and you accept that you're already dead, then you will live a free life. But if you don't accept death, you will never live freely, because it's always in the background, always never committing, never going fully, because, what if I die? You're going to die. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Once you address the things that you're afraid of and separate them between pride, phobias, and actual fear, then you look for the courage. How I'd suggest you do that is start with the lowest one that you're afraid of and meet it head on. Have the courage to open the door, face it, beat it, conquer it, and move on to the next one, to the next one, until you realise that it doesn't actually exist, that you've made it yourself. look for the courage in you. And look for the love. Love trumps fear. Fear is a low frequency. But when you're wrapped in it, you can see that, you can feel that there's no way out of it. But there is. There is absolutely a way out of it. Just address it. I had a good day today. A fearless day. That's what I used to always say. I want to be happy. I want to be happy. And then I changed that to I want to be fearless. Because I could be happy with a bunch of fears. But if I'm fearless, no fears, I will be happy. I will be joyous. And there's a difference between being happy and having joy in your life. Happy is a transient emotion that you can have for 5 seconds or half an hour, and then you go back to being miserable. Joy is a different thing. Do you have joy in your life? I remember the first time I ever heard that I was doing Chinese medicine, and Tom Shanahan was one of his questions. Is there any joy in your life? Not are you happy? And I found it very interesting. I think that's a wrap for today. But the lesson is, for me anyway, if you have fears, figure out what they are. Try and figure out why they're there. Don't mask it with a drug, because then you're just putting it under the rug. It ain't going away. Understand why it's there, and have the courage to face it. And if you have the courage to face it, you will win. That is it. We are all one. Harikrishna. Namaste. #Rafter. Rafter.